In this edition of the Arch Publications Business Insight podcast, I chat with ex-Sale Shark player Tom Holmes, who now runs a beer company called Batch 95. He tells me all about the dangers of his new business.
I've got 2 hernias I'm waiting to get sorted, actually.
From the game?
No, that's from beer. That's from slinging kegs about.
And how running a business has been a massive learning curve, and he now understands the value of supporting local. Remember to subscribe to the Arch Publications podcast on your favourite podcast platform, and I hope you enjoy.
Business Insights with Arch Publications, hosted by Katie O'Regan.
Tell me a bit about your background, because you're from Sandbach, aren't you?
That's right. So, born and bred here. Went to the boys' school and started. Actually, I played football for the majority. I only started playing rugby when I went there.
This boys' school's really sporty, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's a good spot. I don't know whether it's because it's boys and that's natural kind of progression.
Gets rid of all the testosterone.
That's it. You can tire everyone out. But no, yeah. So I went to the boys' school and got into rugby about 13, 14. Managed to get a play for the county and then the north and then the age range stuff and managed to get a contract to do that once I finished my.
With Sale?
With Sale, yeah. So that's the closest one to Sale Sharks.
Right. So do you have a position?
Second row.
Is that...
That's the one. I always describe it as the one. Believe it or not, you wouldn't think it looking at me, but the one who gets lifted in the air.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so.
Oh, I'd love to be that one.
Well, I don't know, you fall down a bit.
Yeah, I bet you
get
do.
dropped a bit.
So have you had injuries?
Yeah, I've had a few, unfortunately. That's the plague of my life. So ankles, knees are the main ones for me.
And will they plague you for the rest of your life?
I currently the joke is that the wooden knee I couldn't go up the stairs 2 at a time if I wanted to. It really kills. I'm actually trying to go and see someone about it. So it's just wear and tear though. It's the same. Everyone will have niggles that they just
as you get old.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
So you did mention to me before you lived in South Africa for a year. Whereabouts in South Africa were you?
So I was in Johannesburg to begin with, and then I struggled a little bit there because I was on my own, and it's a very Afrikaans country, which some people don't really know. It is English speaking, but their kind of Dutch Afrikaans language was, if you don't know it, it's like a cross between
African and Dutch.
Well, yeah, that's it. So it's a funny one. So it's tough to even try and pick up. So went to Cape Town, which is a bit more English.
And you were playing rugby over there, were you?
Playing rugby, so I ended up playing for the university. So initially went to a professional club, the Lions, who are still going now. They're a pretty good team in South Africa. But again, it was, I think, because I struggled a little bit there with the language. I went to play with lads a little bit more my age, which at the time, which was the university rugby in Cape Town. Right. So. And
why did you come back?
Why?
Yeah.
I was ready to come back. To be fair, as I say, I kind of went just to sort myself out and get over an injury. So once I got fit and was happy with where I was at, I thought he's come home and try and get on with life.
And then you went back to Sale Sharks.
Managed to get re-signed, get another contract. So I went back there for about 4.5, 5 years from memory again, and managed to play a couple of games in that time, which was nice, and go from there. And then at that stage, I was probably not quite good enough, if I was honest. So I wanted to play more rugby. I played about 30 games and wanted to get a bit more regular rugby, and so went to the league below, to Rotherham, where we had a good time. Actually, it was good crack. It was, again, all lads my kind of age at the time. It's a humble place, humble club in that respect. There's no glitz and glamour, but it was good fun. We were having a beer most weekends and winning as well. We got in the playoffs to get promoted. We got in the playoffs 2 years on the trot.
Wow.
And then following that, I left and went to play at, there's a bit of change of management there, which is always a bit tough if your face doesn't always fit as well when a new guy comes in. So went to Nottingham for 4 years up until COVID.
During COVID, did you have to stop playing
So
completely?
the club were a bit sneaky, actually. They were full time and they were going to part time, and no one was really. And with that, your wages dropped to part time wages as well.
Oh, right, okay.
So they lost I literally remember the conversation, dead transparent. They were like, "We've lost 2/3 of our funding, so you'll be on 1/3 of your wage." So obviously cut down the hours so you can work. But again, it was still quite a commitment for what would have been a third of your wages.
Yeah.
And then they also said, because no one was really wanting to do it, and the timelines of these contracts are May to May. So if you can remember when COVID was, it was actually in March this was kicking in. So a bit of time that's transpired, but my understanding was no one was really wanting to stay for part-time money. So they said, if you're not staying, it's May to May. We can't put you on furlough if you're not staying with the club. So I was like, right, well, I'm not staying with the club then. So didn't get put on furlough, which was tough. So I had to find a job, which at the time I was doing some coaching through the rugby club. I was coaching. They looked after me really well, and they were great. Kind of the complete opposite, actually. They were very supportive and couldn't help enough. So through one of the sponsors there, who I was doing a bit of part-time work for anyway, he said, "Listen, come on board, and we'll try and look after you."
And you still do coaching now, don't you?
Still do coaching now. Now I've moved back to Sandbach. Back at home,
back at home with your mum and dad.
So, no.
Oh.
So I'm back with a wife and kid now.
Oh,
so
okay.
My wife's from Sandbach as well.
Oh, okay.
It
must be a really different world going back into kind of normal work when you've been in actors. Is it quite showbiz being a professional?
Not quite. No, it's not like a footballer in any sense. It's not that. The only thing is you get quite regimented, so you're quite routinely done. So
that's a good thing.
It is quite good in that respect, but it can also mean that when you don't have that, it's quite difficult. You almost have to make it yourself, which can be easy, it can be hard. You're relying on other people really to fall into that routine. Whereas there, everyone's doing the same thing. You're doing it this time. Yada yada yada. You're made to go to the gym, and at first you'd think that was a
bonus.
Well, no. At first you're probably moaning about it when you're there, but then now you're thinking, God, I wish someone was making, because you just don't go otherwise.
Do you go at all?
I try to, but then this keeps me quite busy as well.
How tall are you then?
So 6'5".
So you're quite tall.
Yeah.
So for the jumping man in the middle, then that's quite
That's
good
the idea, but you've got to be powerful and not quite as heavy as I am at the minute. So I could do with losing a couple of stone, to be fair. But again, things like that happen. Because you don't have to keep yourself in good nick anymore. It does slip.
What's this? How do you feel about the whole thing around head injuries and things like that? Do you think it's improved the sport, the way that they look after their players?
Yes, it has, but I have a bit of probably an old-fashioned stance on it. You know what you're getting in for.
Yeah.
Now, I think what the problem is when you get a head knock and you get made to train and made to play. Yeah. After that, because you've had a head knock, so that's where I admit it's a bit blurry.
Because even in football now, I don't know how long that rule's been in, but if you get a knock on the head, you can't continue on.
Football's a bit loose, but again, if you think about how hard they can send the ball in and the pace that they put on it, that's actually probably harder than getting belted.
There was a guy in the World Cup who got it right in the face, wasn't there?
Yeah, it was. And he played on and all the rest. He tried to play on. He broke his nose and all the rest. Yeah, he banged on.
He broke his nose.
Yeah, he did. It was a mess, wasn't it? But that's the thing. With that, I always think, and that's where there's probably that's probably where it's good that they're quite strict with it. But if I'm honest, I've lied about it. And that's the only way. I had a side story. I had a concussion for about 8 weeks. I could not shift, and in the end, and if I was actually honest on the things, I just thought with every other injury, whenever you get back going, it's not nice. It hurts and still hurts. You've just got to get until you get used to it. Yeah. And I thought the same's going to be for your head.
Yeah. Do you have any pains now then, or are you just suffering pain with things?
Well, I've got 2 hernias I'm waiting to get sorted, actually.
From the game?
No, that's from beer. That's from slinging kegs about. But as I say, there's bits, but this is what I mean. If you look for something, you're going to find something. That's the same for anyone, Yeah. So if you look for a niggle and a pain, you're going to get one. So I just try not to. I just joke about it more than anything else.
So let's move on to the beer then. Yeah. So how did the beer come about?
So myself and Will, my kind of business partner, we live together. So he's from, his mum and dad live just near the Brownlow in Asprey, in Congleton. So he's from the same area. He, again, a rugby player. He's a year older than us, older than me, should I say. So he kind of was quite good for us when we first started with rugby. He'd already done it for a year, if that made sense. So it was quite good, shared lifts and everything. And we ended up living in digs together for a good few years up in the outskirts of Manchester, the suburbs of Manchester. So as we were there and you're messing about like lads do, we went to a barbecue with a load of lads who had already moved on. It was kind of our core when we were there at Sale, but then everyone had moved on and was doing their own thing. And we were at a barbecue, and he's a Welsh lad, a big imposing fella to be fair, but lovely guy. And he was in pre-season. Essentially, you train all week and they give you the weekends, but you get fat tested every couple of weeks. Basically,
I'd lose that every time.
And this lad was as well. In fairness, so he was getting fat tested on the Monday. And this was on the Saturday, and he was like, we're all having a beer and a hot dog or whatever, and he was like, so now you're having a beer? And he's like, no, I've brought champagne. And we were like, why have you brought champagne? And he was like, I'm getting fat tested and I'm telling you, I'm getting fined. I'm going to get in real trouble. I'll be in the fat club where they have to make you do extra.
How do they fat test you then? What do
so
they
it's
do?
like these calipers. It's honestly, it'll make you feel fat doing it. So they do it on, I think it's 8 sites on your body from memory. So they like just do these tiny little calipers that do it, and then they've got like a reading, and then they write down the number and add it up, and that gives you a percentage.
You're probably a bit too young to remember this, but there was like a diet fad in the 80s called Can You Pinch an Inch?
Oh, really?
Yeah, honestly, you should Google it. It's horrific if you think about it. And it was, can you pinch an inch? And if you can pinch an inch, you're overweight.
Yeah, well.
And you have to follow this diet.
I
remember my mum did it. It was like, but so it sounds similar to that.
It is very similar. So, but this is a little bit. I don't know if it's the density of what it's grabbing, but there's like one that's right on your belly button, which feels it. But the one that used to get me was like just below your shoulder blade, and you'd feel it, and you'd think, "Oh my, that must feel like a burger." You know what I mean?
Yeah, back fat.
Yeah. So it was. It was very.
I'm surprised you don't have players who've got like food problems with food. Issues with.
Well, you could, but it's all. To be honest with you, the lads that get like that take it with a pinch of salt. Is that why you're not getting picked? No.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But at the same time, if you're too fat to move with it, then it's one of them. So I used to not like it, and like you say, you'd always dread it when it comes. But luckily, there'd always be someone worse. Then as long as you do okay in the fitness and can play and keep up with everything, it's normally just the gym guys, the strength and conditioning coaches. It's just them that are on your case.
So you get fined if you don't.
Well, you can do, yeah. Some places they bring you in early, and so they have a literally called Fat Club. You go in early and do extra,
right?
If your scores aren't great, and then they'd probably do you at the beginning and the end. So say it's a 3-month period, but then if you're in Fat Club, it's every week. So they monitor you because
you're basically an asset. And so they want you to be at the top of the game.
Of course. I get it. I do understand the reasons why. And as I say, luckily I would normally be in Fat Club, but I had a quite good engine. I could keep. I would always be okay on fitness. So in fairness, they'd usually leave me alone. I'd get done and I'd have to do extra, which didn't bother me. But then when it actually came to your fitness scores, mine were okay. It's if you're fat and you're getting bad fitness scores, and sometimes even if you're fat, you can be strong, So you stay off your case in that one. But as I say, it's just the nature of it. There's always some zippy guys that doesn't matter to. But this lad's diverse. But this lad who one of his good mates, he as I say was drinking champagne. Well, we were there. He must have had 2.5 bottles of champagne, so we may as well just had 5, 10, 6 beers, whatever it was. So it was at that point me and Will were almost kind of talking. We were like, what could we do? Is there anything we could do? And this is when the seltzers were going really big in America. This was 2018-ish.
Right.
So we were like, wonder if there's a way we can do something, and kind of went from there and tried to look at how we could do it. So first we needed a recipe.
Yeah.
So we tried to we spent an afternoon sending a load of emails to local brewers, and one of them came back. So we went and met him and did almost like a taste test. So we'd get a load of beers and be like, okay, well, we want it to taste like this. We want it to have this colour. We want it to be have this mouthfeel. Like you say, imagine wine tasting, but the same kind of concept.
Yeah.
This was on like a Tuesday afternoon at 10:30. You come out really bladdered, It was a funny one. But yeah, so we had a recipe made, and then our plan was to have him to brew it. but there was no commercials in it at all, in sense of we couldn't sell it for, it was costing us more to make than we would be able to sell. So I had to go back to the drawing board with that, go out and find a contract brewer that would look at it, as I say, as a concept first, and then obviously brew it for us where there is some form of margin. The margins on it aren't great anyway. It's a tough industry in that respect.
How do you make it different with the low calorie then?
So obviously conscious of what goes in, but the recipe itself is not dissimilar to a normal beer. It's exactly the same as a normal lager. There's nothing else. There's nothing. It's not like got I don't know what it is. You know, like sweetener. It's not sugar. It's nothing. It's nothing to do with that. All we do is we. When it's lagering, when it's boiling, we blitz it with a little bit of heat at the very end to just get rid of any excess sugar.
So how did you know to do that? Was it a
scientist? Basically brewers are scientists. It's honestly it's mad the chemistry that goes on with it. Again, you wouldn't have considering loads of them are usually hippies with beards and big earrings or you know what I mean. They are usually, they look like they're like skaters who aren't bothered. Yeah. They're so clever. The science behind it is mad actually, which we've only learned through doing it.
Yeah.
We managed to get a product in front of us, and then that was just in cans to begin with, and then gearing up to launch summer 2020.
Oh no.
Yeah. So then that all went to and then we then kind of pushed that back to, we managed to everything, whilst people got used to it and figured out what it looked like, we kind of pushed down the pecking order at the brewery, and as you'd imagine, it was something new. And then as people got used to COVID, we went to launch for Christmas 2020, which we did. We managed in December 2020. We had a small run done, and we ended up selling out pretty quick. But it was just a small run, and that probably was more our friends and everyone locally, because we obviously made a load of noise about it.
Yeah.
But then that's probably when we properly launched, December 2020. So all e-commerce, one of the other lads who I played rugby with, who's my age, who's gone on to do great things. He's played for the England second team. He's in Japan at the minute. James Gaskell. His sister runs a fulfilment centre in Crewe.
Okay.
Which couldn't have been more.
Wow.
We're like, oh, that's exactly what we need.
Serendipity.
So, exactly. So it's well that she's going out with a brother of a lad who I went to school with and knocked about with. So it's small town works in that respect.
Yeah.
So they've got a great setup there, which is perfect. So they log into the back end of our shop. Any orders come. It's hands off for us in the respect of it's picked, it's packed, it's sent.
Yeah.
It's much more efficient than it would be one of us driving around in a van and do it. And it means we can go nationwide as well.
Yeah. I know the answer to this, but batch 95 is obviously Sandbach.
Yes.
95?
So Will plays 9 and I play 5.
Okay.
Is that, and then we were targeting 95 calories in a can or a bottle, which is what we've managed to do.
That's amazing.
So each one varies a little bit, but that's, as I say, the recipe is to that.
Do you do different types?
So no, it's just a lager. So
right.
We do, in terms of different types, we do cans, we do bottles, and we do draft, like kegs. So which is in bars and restaurants.
Bars and restaurants. Have you got like contracts now with?
So yeah, you got listings. So we've got quite a few in Sandbach and about the place. That's basically our model at the minute, because that's where people see it, taste it.
Are you in the beer emporium?
So beer emporium have cans. Yeah, we're in the Old Hall in cans. We're in K2H, the Indian over there, in bottles. We're in Raphael, the Indian on the corner. The Italian on the corner on the roundabout. We're in bottles there. Rugby Club Draft on keg. The Wheat Sheaf, we'll just be in the process of transferring them over to keg.
Wow.
We're in bottles in there to begin with. Sandbach Football Club, we're in bottles in the zero, no alcohol.
Anywhere in Holmes Chapel? Are you in the bottle bank?
So bottle bank is they vary what goes in.
Yeah.
So we've been in there a couple of times. Yeah, trying, I think, because they rotate a bit.
A board. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They rotate a bit. We're in Charlie's Bar, which is
Charlie's. I love Charlie's. Yeah.
So we're in there.
Sarah's
That's
place.
it. We're Sarah. Yeah. So we're in there. We're in Goosery Home and Leisure.
Great.
For people to buy and take away.
What about Congleton then?
So Congleton, we're in the Lion and Swan. Again, that's that same groups that get transferred over to keg. We're in Rubens, the burger place.
Yeah.
We're in the tennis club They do quite a bit for us actually. The Congleton Tennis Club.
Yeah.
We're in there. We're in the Brownlow on draft.
Yep.
So as I say, we're in most places. We've got some form of a presence and just trying to build it. So.
And you are selling nationwide, are you then?
Yeah, so we've got a couple of good listings, should I say, with the Botanist. So there's New World Trading Group, so they own the Botanist, the Oast House in Manchester.
Yeah.
That we're in 34 of them. Clubhouse, which is again part of their brand. So we're in 34 of them, and then we're also in, I think it's 72 youth hostels.
Wow.
Because there's some, again, I didn't think youth hostels had bars, but apparently there's one in Windermere and Devon where they're actually mega hotels, really.
Yeah, they're really nice. They're not like they were in the 80s.
That's the one. I think that's why everyone's impression is. So it's there's some great ones which work in that respect, and then there's a couple of others through wholesalers that again are probably dotted around nationwide that we don't know all that much about.
So when did it really start to take off then?
So we, as I say, we started e-commerce to begin with, and then as it went to rule of 6 and outdoor drinking or whatever the rules were at the time, a few places locally said, "Oh, do you do trade?" And at first we didn't. We were like, we're just on the website, because we're naive. We're like, "Yeah, we can if you want." Like, what's the price? We're like, I don't know, what do you pay for something else? It took a bit of time to figure all that out and work it out. But then from there, as kind of COVID came to an end and the world of, I know e-commerce is still quite a big thing with Amazon and everything like that, but the e-commerce side kind of took us a bit of a step back, and we were trying to work much harder on the trade, because that's where people go to drink, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
People see it in your face and try it, and that's how people get, whenever you go to a bar or a restaurant and you go, oh, you just have what you know normally. So getting them to try it's obviously difficult. Getting a pub to try it and have a go on you again is difficult. So there's loads of things like that it's all a learning experience even now. So it's not really hasn't really kicked off too much. It's just it's a constant battle actually to just stay on top of it.
So do you say like a pub chain like Holt's or something like that? Is it easy to get access to find out who it's...
No, very hard, because they, essentially, a load of places like that, Holt's for example, or Robinson's, they brew their own stuff.
Yes,
so they'll also sell stuff that's obviously separate. Guinness is a good example. Most places sell Guinness, which is its own brand, but they will obviously keep one of theirs on a line, instead of, because there's usually whatever, there's maybe 6 lines in a pub. Some are even less, some are 4, some are 5, and so it's trying to understand where there's an opening, and you've got to then either incentivise them so that it makes it the money worth it for them, or that other places are very keen to, like, listen, I support local. I know you lads, or you're from within whatever 10 miles, 20 miles, whatever it is. I'd rather do that than a faceless brand. So it varies. Some places are, as I say, purely driven on margin. Other places are driven on kind of the story and everything behind it. The rugby side of it is a big thing.
We're sat in an office which is above Stevens and Brown, which is run by Franklin, and they support you as well, don't they?
Yes, yeah. So Andy, the main guy, he's got an interest in the business, and he looks that as a brand, Franklin are brilliant with us. And there's a load actually. There's a load of places in and around that if they can help, it's normally through people we know. But it's good in that respect. It's funny. There's some places who are really good to you, who you don't really know that well beforehand, if that makes sense. Then there's some places locally who you think, oh, they'll be good for us, and they're really not.
That's strange.
But it's just how it works. It's as I say, some people are driven by money and their margin and what they can make and what's in it for them, and some people are honestly just happy to they understand the journey. And I don't mind saying, even just like the milkman, you think, oh, I'll just go to the shop and get milk, but just by being in business and understand what it's actually like.
Who'd you get your milk from?
So I get it from the rugby club, at Sandbach Rugby Club. They've got one of the automated machines.
Yes, yeah.
But you know what I mean? Just things like that are little things that you don't realise. If you can do something with someone local, I feel like I certainly do now, knowing the
ins and outs.
Struggle, yeah.
Would you say that's the biggest lesson you've learned then?
Definitely one of them. It certainly is. Working with people that you know and like, or get to know and like. I just think it just makes sense. It's just nice to wave at people and passing in the car.
Yeah.
You know, and knowing whatever it is, what the small bit of dealings we've had, it all helps.
Yeah.
Which really like.
What's the plan then? Are you selling abroad yet?
No, we've actually just had a conversation with somebody about some export to America.
Ooh.
With our alcohol free, because we just got that out just in January. So and it's gone quite well. So
people like that at the moment, don't they?
It is, and it's you know it's one of them. Ours actually probably is a little bit different to our lager, because I think alcohol free is its own product completely. Whereas the beer is the lager itself, the Batch 95 is easy drinking, it's refreshing, it's a nice barbecue beer.
Yeah.
Excuse me, and
it means that you can have an extra burger.
Well, probably have a few more, and if you actually do the math, it's like a third less calories than what a normal beer is.
Yeah.
But if you're having 5,
does it taste any different?
No, honestly, it's the liquid is number one. I know it's a bit of a cringing thing to say, but if it tastes minging,
no one's going to drink it.
Why would they?
They're not going to restock it.
And even if you're like, oh, but it's this amount of calories, well, again, apart from chinning like a protein shake or a smooth, and thinking, oh, this is doing my bit. What else do you have? It's cough medicine otherwise. That's the only thing that you really take and think this tastes horrible and keep taking it.
Yeah.
When you could just have something else. So
what are the sales like then?
Mixed, really, in terms of up and down. We've got a fairly consistent level that we've got to at the minute, which we're obviously then going to try and take to the next level. So locally in Cheshire and in and around Manchester, we're doing okay, but you've just got to keep on with it. Everything's going up in cost. Just had a call with the brewery there. Cost of malt has gone up 47%.
Wow.
And
I bet, and also they'll have probably high overheads with gas and electric.
Exactly. So it's all, and unfortunately that everyone tries to eat it up in their own way.
Yeah.
But it gets passed on. So I think with our brand and our beer, there's quite a few independent craft breweries where it's a little bit different. It's quite hoppy and quite fruity and everything like that. And that works, and that's probably a little bit more what the Zero is in all honesty. But we're not that way. We're not the surfers with long hair and the earrings and everything like that. We're just we're just the average
tasting
Joe.
lager.
Yeah, that everyone likes.
That's low calorie.
Yeah, that everyone likes. We want something that was a little bit better for us. Still had the strength, so still got your junk. And
what percentage is it?
It's 4.2.
Right. Okay.
So still does the business on that side, but also it's easy drinking, gluten free. Again, is another thing that when we were going through the when I said that meeting that we had about what kind of bits of characteristics we wanted. That was fairly easy to build into it. It's just one of them. We are trying to be something different, but we're also not so out there that it's only a select few will have it. Guarantee if someone has a cold pint of our beer alongside a cold pint of something else, they could even say that I prefer that to that. It's not like anything that's really out there and heavily hopped and you either take it like Marmite, you either like it or you don't. You know?
So what's the plans for this year?
So we've growth is what we've discussed. We've got a couple of bits going on that we're going to try and focus on. I can say all this because we had a board meeting on Wednesday, so it's all very fresh in my mind. But growth, keep growing. So we keep trying to get draft listings. So quite a lot of places will take you on bottle, but it's. I don't know if it's an English thing or what. We have a pint of beer, so or even a half pint, but it's usually out the tap. So that's something that we're going to focus on that side, and just keep trying to get in front of people locally.
Are you the face of the business then?
Me and Will, I've actually left him out, which is pretty bad. There's another guy called Jesse who was a founder with us as well. He's from in Wilmslow. He's a rugby guy as well, albeit a little bit older. He's an American international actually. So Yeah, there's the three of us in that. So Will's probably the face because he's still playing for Sale and is a little bit more better looking, I would imagine. So let him take the plaudits, and I'll just run around in the van and do the dirty work. So it's better how we play rugby, to be fair. It's the different positions.
He's lifting you from behind.
Yeah, he's the nice one. He's the one passing it away.
Oh, okay.
He can be the face of it. So, but yeah, it's just to try and grow, keep our quality where it needs to be, and just try and get in front of more people, because, as I say, people are happy to support local or support smaller up and coming brands as opposed to a faceless.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Spread your wings.
Yeah, you just got to get out and keep going. So,
do you imagine you're going to do different things within the range?
Potentially, yeah. So, as I say, we brought the alcohol-free in, which is a big one for us. In that respect, we've also we did lager because we drink lager. It was a purely selfish thing, in the sense of we wanted a drink that was a bit better for us. We didn't think there was one out there that was particularly good tasting. So went off and did it ourselves. Same with alcohol free. You know, when you taste the well-known brands and their version, you think, this is honestly, I'd rather just have a glass of Coke,
yeah,
you know, or whatever.
I feel the same way.
Diet Coke if you're not drinking, but you know what I mean. It's so we thought, right, well, let's get on to something better with that. So yeah, it could very well be. Again, we drink a bit of Guinness when it comes, especially when you're at rugby games and things like that. I think that's just a thing that you do. So so it could be something like that in terms of a stout. But yeah, there's definitely plans to do other stuff, but we just want to get our brand out there, our brand identity right, and everything like that. And I think if you put too much, you can cloud that, can't you? So we're just keeping a bit more focused and working on that.
I love talking to you.
No, thanks
and
for your time.
Will you please keep in touch and let us know
what,
if you're bringing anything new out? I'd love to try it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Thank you very much for your time.
Nice one, no, thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Arch Publications podcast. We'll be back with more business insights very, very soon. And why don't you subscribe on your favourite podcast platform? Just search Arch Publications.
The Arch Publications podcast.